actually remember picking up the gun. I just remember shooting. I panicked, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's really going to kill me this time, you know? It's either me or her.
This is Susan Lorincz, desperately trying to manipulate detectives just hours after she shot Ajike Owens. However, what she does not know is that detectives already know all of her dark secrets, the lies, and her racist tendencies.
How do you know what you're firing at when you're firing through a door that you can't see through?
Many of you saw our analysis of the interrogation of Susan Lorincz here on Dark Loom, but that interrogation took place several days after Susan had taken Ajike's life. Now, the Marion County Sheriff's Office has provided us with the first never-seen-before interrogation that took place just hours after the crime. You will see Susan emotional and less prepared, desperately trying to maintain her innocence, even if it means twisting the facts heavily in order to manipulate detectives until she has enough time to get her story straight. 58-year-old Susan Lorincz was a known neighborhood antagonizer and often bullied the children of Ajike Owens for playing on a field that was meant to be a shared area between tenants. Unfortunately, things went horribly wrong on June 2, 2023, when one of these conflicts escalated. Ajike had come over to Susan to confront her about the racist remarks she made to her children and began banging on her door. In response, Susan shot through the door with her RM-380, inflicting a fatal wound to Ajike. When authorities arrived, Susan was immediately taken into custody. However, at this point, it was still not certain if Susan had the intent to murder Ajike, or if she did it purely in self-defense, so she has not been formally charged. As the interrogation starts, it's clear Susan is incredibly shaken up, as compared to the second interrogation days later, where she is almost nonchalant.
Hi.
I'm sorry, I was sitting here because I was freezing.
Oh, it is chilly in here, isn't it? Susan?
Yes.
Hey, I'm Detective Stitt. This is Detective Peterson.
Okay.
Can we just get you to slide that chair back over here just a moment? I'm sorry to keep you waiting so long. We just had a lot we had to sort through before we could come and talk to you. So again, I'm Detective Stitt. I'm an investigator here with the Sheriff's Office. Do you know reason why we're...
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Did the deputies put handcuffs on you or anything with it? Because there's a lot of things going on, and we're trying to sort through the moving pieces to try to figure out what happened. So naturally, they want to secure
Understood.
the scene, and that under that circumstance, it meant to handcuff you. So we're working this investigation. And at this point, you're not free to leave, so I have to make you aware of your rights, okay, before we talk. So I have to read this to you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him present with you while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you before any questioning if you wish. You can decide at any time to execute these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. Do you understand each of those rights I've explained to you?
Yes.
Okay.
It is likely the officer only detained Susan for now, which means that although she hasn't been formally charged with a crime, she still cannot leave the interrogation. Detainment is when an individual with probable suspicion is taken into custody temporarily. According to officers, Susan was not charged because there was still not enough evidence to challenge her claim of self-defense, which gave her protection through Florida's Stand Your Ground law.
So the reason I'm trying to clarify all the events that happened tonight, and to try to, because really I only have, statements from people that were out there, and I would like to get your side of things and try to understand what exactly happened tonight, or last night now, I guess it is.
Good gravy. Basically, the neighbors were out there screaming, yelling. The kids were running back and forth. I had a miserable headache. Went inside, laid down. They finally got quiet. I came outside, and the three boys were there. I'm like, guys, you're trespassing. Come on, out of here. And he's like, I want this, and I want that, and this. I'm like, oh, okay, little big kids, because they're all really young. And
So you say you came out, and they were...
I wanted to check my truck. Every time I had my truck on one side, the kids would throw the balls and hit the truck.
Okay.
So I moved the truck to the other side, then they moved themselves to the other side, And they keep just,
Just
hands in the ass.
antagonizing you?
God,
Yeah.
horribly.
Okay, so when you said that you came outside and they were there, the 3 boys were there, where were they at?
They're right in front of, that little cove that's
Like
there.
the privacy fence?
They were right there.
Okay.
Right in front.
Inside the privacy fence, like on
No.
your patio or
No, they were
outside?
just right outside.
Okay.
And I'm like, guys, come on, leave. Because I wanted to check the truck and everything. And then they were like, I'm going to tell my mom. I'm like, go tell your mom, I don't care, And
Have you had problems with them
oh
before?
my God, yes.
Yeah.
And they've been harassing me last week. They came out they were actually in the vestibule area. And they were like, wake up, wake up. I was watching TV. I'm like, really, seriously? Because, after a nice long shift, that's just when I want to hear these little run.
How long have you lived there?
3 years.
3 years?
Mhm.
Okay. And how long have you been having problems with them?
Like 2 years.
2 years?
Ever since she moved.
Is it just those same 3, or do you have problems with any, does anyone else give you problems?
They want to play on that part where Charles Owens and the other part. And I'm like, guys, come on. give me
Which
some.
part is that? I'm not sure, I don't know who Charles is.
Charles is the landlord. So there's, one of the cops came out and said, oh, it's an open lot. It's not an open lot. It's an abutment of 2 properties. I'm like, guys, come on, give me some peace, because in my apartment, there's sliding glass doors, and then I have the 2 bedrooms up front, and because it's an open concept, just you can hear everything.
The sounds travel right
It's
through
horrible,
it.
and I'm like, go play on the other side. We don't want to play on the other side, I want to play over here. I'm like, oh, good gravy, and so they just, every time they see me, they get together and scream and yell.
They live in the same building?
No, none of them live there. I was going to say, one set of kids lives there, but the other sits on the other side. They go play on your side of the road, Come on.
Okay, so they were being obnoxious out there tonight,
Oh,
and they finally got quiet, but then you go outside and the 3 of them are out there?
Yeah, and I didn't want to go any further because he's like, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you. I'm like, what in the world?
Who said that?
Ajike's kids.
Okay,
Like,
so who is it?
Ajike, I think her name is.
Okay.
She actually had thrown a sign at me before. She picked up the no trespassing sign and just threw it at me. She's like, here, take your sign. I'm like, it's not mine, it's Charles. He doesn't want you guys here. So it's just, she's been in my mailboxes. She sends the kids in the mailboxes.
When did she throw a sign at you?
I want to say last year, just after I had my neck fused. I'm like, oh, good gravy.
What kind of sign? Like one of the ones you buy at the store, like a plastic, like on the fence?
It was a metal sign with a little metal, like a real estate sign. But it had no trespassing, so it was about that by that.
Is it the same one that was out there tonight, or is it different? Okay.
They stole that sign.
The incident mentioned here happened in December of 2022, when Ajike's children were playing in the yard. Susan had kicked them out despite the fact that it was shared property between the tenants and they had had just as much right to be there as her. The unfair treatment of her children angered Ajike, so she pulled out the trespassing sign and threw it away without the intent to harm Susan. Susan had called the authorities and created a web of lies to get the children arrested. Susan would also call the police on April 17, 2023, to complain about a man and children trespassing, even though they had been playing in the parking lot.
So what happened tonight that led to the conclusion that...
Well, I'm like, kids, go home. So they go home, and then all of a sudden she comes out, and she is just banging on my door. I'm like, go away. I'm not dealing with you tonight. And then she started banging so hard, everything started shaking. And I'm like, you really need to leave. And then I'm going to kill you. And she's just banging away. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. And since she has actually harmed me, I'm like, this just keeps getting worse and worse. I'm like, I don't know what to do with her. And she banged so hard, it looked like my door was going to fly off. And I panicked. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's really going to kill me this time, And so I don't even actually remember picking up the gun. I just remember shooting.
Where do you keep the gun usually?
It's in my bedroom.
That's where you keep it? Like in a cabinet or something, or just like...
It's just, I actually keep it in the trash can.
Okay.
Next to the bed.
I know nobody would look in there probably, right?
And I didn't think about it, and I'm like, oh my God, and I just started panicking, and I really feared for my life. I mean, honest to God, I was like, oh Jesus Christ, I'm a nervous wreck. I'm not supposed to be getting nervous or anything like this because I have an aneurysm on my left kidney artery. And so they're like, you're supposed to stay calm, you're not supposed to do anything, and this woman just keeps antagonizing me. She's got the kids calling me. I go out, they're like, hey Karen, I'm like, I have a doctoral degree. Do not talk to me like I am one of your peers. You
So
know?
they don't really have any
No,
respect for
no
her or
respect.
anything like that.
Uh-uh.
So AJ, she came to your door
Oh, yeah.
and she was,
She was pounding on it. I was like, what the hell? My cats went flinging
what was
in
she
the bedroom.
saying? Was she
She's
saying
like,
anything?
you don't talk to my sons. I'm gonna fucking kill you. I'm gonna fucking kill you. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, you know? And I was like in tears. I'm like shaking and I'm like, oh my God. And I thought she had gone away and then she starts banging again. I'm like, oh shit.
Did she like try to come inside?
She was trying as hard as she could.
What do you mean?
That door was moving. And I'm like, holy shit, you know?
Like, did she try the door handle or was she just beating on it to try to push it in or what?
She was just, you know, just trying to push it in, trying to push it in, and I was like, oh my God.
You're just letting you know it's back. Inside.
Okay. So what was she saying again?
She's like, you can't talk to my sons that way. You know, I'm like, you're trespassing, you know?
So you were communicating with her through the door? You were
Yeah, and
able
I'm
to-
like, all right, just leave. You know, I don't want to hear it. Now I'm gonna fucking kill you. I'm gonna fucking kill you. And I didn't think too much of it until she really started pounding that door. And I'm like, oh my God. Then I got scared, like terrified scared.
An investigation of the front door to Susan's house revealed that there were no splinters or cracks to indicate that it was close to being broken down. It is clear Susan was simply trying to portray Ajike as a threat when she was nothing but an angry mother seeking justice for her children.
Now you had initially called,
Because it was.
did you call 911 or
Yeah,
did you
I-
use the non-emergency number when you called?
When the first time, because the kids said, I'm gonna kill you, and my friends kill you, I'm like, oh my God, you know, what the hell's going on now? You know, I'm like, I don't need this aggravation.
Okay. So you called, was it 911?
Yeah, I called 911.
Okay. And that was before AJ came over?
Before she
Okay.
came over.
And the kid, okay, so we get like, as the deputies are responding, the call taker's talking to you, they're putting information that you're telling them into the computer, which goes to us as we're going out there. So on that call notes, there's never any mention of you saying that they said that they're gonna kill you. It was more or less that they're harassing you, that
Oh, no, I told the lady that they
Okay.
said they were gonna kill me.
okay,
No, I was very specific when I spoke.
okay. Now, did you see who was out there at that time?
I just knew it was Ajike by her voice, because she's screamed at me before, you know, and I'm like, oh, great, it's her again, you know. And I just, like I said, I just panicked, and I just got so frightened. I was like, oh my God, she's really gonna do it this time, she's gonna kill me.
Were you still on the phone with 911 when you fired the gun?
No. I thought that the kids went, and I was like, all right, I'll go check my truck in the morning. I didn't even leave, you know, I just went back in the house and locked the doors.
So, but you had already contacted 911?
Yeah.
Did they advise you that someone was responding, an
Yes,
officer
they
was
did.
responding?
They said someone's
Okay.
coming out, and they said lock the doors, you know, make sure you don't go outside. I'm like, okay, you know, usual.
Okay. And where were you at when she was pounding on the door? Were you?
I was actually in the bathroom.
You were in the bathroom. I haven't been inside, so how does it, like when you go in through the front door?
It's all open, so
Okay.
you can see kind of the bathroom right from the front door.
Okay.
So.
And you were still able to hear her?
Oh,
and
yeah.
She
Oh
was
my
able to
God,
hear
yes.
you, that you know, as far as you know?
I don't know if she was able to hear me. I mean, she was just screaming for all she was worth. I'm like, stop, 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 you know, and
Okay.
she wouldn't stop. And I was just like, oh dear God.
What else was she saying besides what you've told me? Was she saying anything else?
She was just, some of it was unintelligible,
Okay.
so she was just ranting.
So I noticed there's, you have a couple cameras in the house?
Yes.
Okay. And are those like Ring cameras or Arlo
They're
or?
Blink.
Blink? Okay.
And then I have the one at the door, but when it gets dark out, they don't pick up anything, which sucks.
Do they record sound though, or
I
like,
have no
is it
idea.
all motion where it only records when it captures
only,
motion?
Yeah, when it captures motion.
Okay. But those are working cameras?
I don't know if the door bell picked anything up. You can look at it and stuff.
Is that through your phone that you were able to review that, or computer, or how do you?
Phone.
Through your phone? Okay.
But I don't think it picked it up because I didn't get a ding.
Susan's story would remain the same even days later, except when describing the situation days later, she provides a lot of details, which she allegedly doesn't remember right now.
So prior to her coming over there and banging on your door, because we talked to a lot of people that were out there at the time, and there was some statements given to us that you had taken a tablet or picked up a tablet that was
No,
on
sir.
the ground?
Absolutely not, no.
Okay.
That child, like, the other day he said to me, I'm gonna go tell my mom that you called me a I'm like, what? He came over with a rake and he was pounding everything with the rake. I'm like, really? Seriously? So I don't know what's going on with that child.
Mm-hmm.
So
And which child is that you're talking about?
It's on the video. If you give me my phone, I'll show you which child it is. I don't know by names.
Is it one of the older ones?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the deal with the roller skate? Because again, we talked to a lot of people who were outside and kind of witnessed some of
They
this.
keep leaving all their toys around. The other day I almost killed myself going out. I had an early morning doctor's appointment and I didn't see the roller skate and I almost killed myself. And I'm like, guys, stop already. This is not your garbage yard.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid's got his roller skates there. And I'm like, really? Take your roller skates. And I threw the roller skates. I'm like, go fetch them. Just enough. Because
Did you throw that at them?
Oh,
or?
God, no.
Okay.
No, I just
And what is
threw-
the thing about the umbrella? You had an umbrella?
I thought it was raining before, and I walked out and it wasn't raining. I'm like, okay. So
Okay. And you like swung it at them or so, or one of them?
I wasn't even close. I was still inside the vestibule. So
How can we explain that then with people saying, like multiple people that weren't like talking to each other, that if they were saying that that's what they saw?
I don't know. Maybe I did step out and I'm like, guys, go away, but I would never touch them.
Okay. Maybe like swat at them with it, but not.
Exactly.
Okay.
If I did it was probably because I was just so, like, come on.
Okay. But I know you say if you did, but is that what happened? I mean, we gotta kind of get specific about this because it's a big deal.
I understand.
Someone's dead.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So that's why I say it's important to be specific and honest about everything. Okay. And I know from what it sounds like, I talked to several people out there, and it seems like this has been an ongoing thing where the harassment continues and just being obnoxious and don't have respect for their neighbors and just doing whatever they want, and it builds and it builds and it builds until you can't take anymore. And unfortunately, it's led to this event.
It was only because she was pounding at my door, and I, honest to God, thought she was going to come in.
Across both interrogations, this is the only moment where Susan displays any notable emotional response. If her actions were unintentional or driven by fear, one would expect to see more visible signs of remorse, particularly given the gravity of taking a mother's life and the impact on her 4 children. The absence of such a reaction shows an utter lack of empathy, which supports her well-documented pattern of hostility and racism towards Ajike's children. Later investigation would prove Susan was indeed lying. There were several witnesses who would testify that Ajike had never threatened Susan and that Susan did indeed intend to harm the kids. She intentionally threw the roller skates and hurt one of Ajike's children, which was the whole reason Ajike was riled up in the first place.
We have, over in our communication center, they're putting together, because all the calls that come into 911 are audio recorded, and there were several people even before. So there's open lines, we're recording and getting audio of exactly what's being said, not to mention if your camera's captured anything, okay? So that's why I'm like asking you before we go through that, and if something is different than what you're telling me, we need to clear that up now, because if
Okay.
you know what I mean, if if the evidence shows something different than what you're saying, it doesn't look good, and I want to be open and honest with you.
I
that
just know that she was pounding and pounding on the door and scaring the shit out of me.
Okay.
You know?
But is there any reason why, if we review that evidence, she wasn't saying, "I'm going to kill you"?
That's what I heard.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I honest to God heard. You know, it's just what I heard.
Okay. Did you ever look out the door to see? And I know you said you kind of recognized her voice. So.
I never looked out the door.
Okay.
I was afraid to get to my door, to be brutally honest. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna bust it in and just gonna...
Where were you standing when you shot the gun? And you said you shot the gun
Oh, yeah.
through the door?
Yeah, through the
Okay.
door. I just panicked. It was probably by the kitchen table somewhere.
Okay, by the kitchen table.
Mm-hmm.
And how many times did you shoot the gun?
Once.
Just once? What kind of gun is it?
It's a Remington 380.
Is that the only firearm you have in the house?
No, there was a 22 Ruger.
Where's that one at?
I don't know. I don't know if I picked it up or not. I have no idea. Maybe the garbage can.
Susan claims she doesn't remember where she kept the second gun. However, during her second interrogation, Susan bluntly admits to having the gun in the garbage bin where she accidentally touched it before picking up her Remington 380. It is clearer than ever Susan had tried to omit details during this interrogation, but after curating her narrative for a few days, she was suddenly providing extra details.
Okay. And after you fired the round, what did you do?
She said, ow, and I'm like, oh my God, I hit her. It just, clicked, I hit her. I was like, Jesus Christ. And I thought I just, nicked something.
Mm-hmm.
I never ever.
And what did you go out there?
No.
You didn't go out there?
No.
Did you call 911 back?
Yes, I did call 911.
Okay. And what did you say?
And I said, she was pounding on my door and I shot my gun. I'm pretty sure that's what I said.
Okay.
And she was threatening me and she was saying, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you. So.
Okay. So it's a Remington 380.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a revolver or
No,
a semi-automatic?
It's a pistol.
Okay.
It's semi-automatic.
What color is the Remington?
Black.
Black. And that's your firearm?
Yes.
Okay. So, again, we're trying to get to. There's always two sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when there's the truth is somewhere usually lying in the middle
Mm-hmm.
somewhere. And I'm not trying to discredit what you're telling me, and I understand your concerns about, this is your area. You want to be able to be relaxed and not have to worry about all this
Riprap.
basically, yeah. But unfortunately, we can't get the other side from
Ajike, I think her
Jake.
name is. It's Ajike.
Right. But we can't ask her side,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then we have to go by other people who may have seen or heard things, videos, 911 call recordings and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I have no doubt that they harass you and give you problems all the time. But again, when we review all the evidence, if it's going against what you're saying, and I know you say you heard this, but up front you said that's what she said. But I mean, that it's very important to be detailed and specific and honest, because again, if the evidence doesn't match up with what you're saying, then when we take this and show this to a prosecutor who ultimately makes decisions about whether this was a justified event or not, if you're not being completely honest now, it doesn't look good, you know what I mean?
Just telling you what I know.
So, is it feasible to say that this is just got to a boiling point for you that you couldn't take it anymore, And because
No,
again, if
this was
listen, if
absolutely
this stuff
terrible.
happened in the past,
Mhm.
I get it, but we're talking about a specific event tonight where she didn't make it a point that she was trying to come in. She was trying to get your attention to say, apparently, to stop throwing things at her kids. Whether you actually, I know, listen, kids can lie. I get it, and I'm just saying whether that actually happened or not. That's what she believed because that's what she was told by her one of her sons. So she was coming over there to. I mean, does that ring a bell of her telling you not to be throwing things? No. What
Not that I-
specific words do you recall that she said?
I
that
just
you-
remember her saying, "Don't talk to my sons that way, and I'm gonna kill you." I mean, that's what I heard, and I'm like, "Oh Jesus Christ!"
And you're sure when you were on the phone with 911, you told them that she said that?
I'm almost positive.
Yeah, I mean, if someone was, the reason why I ask is because, like, if someone, let's say I'm not a police officer, or, you know, right, and I'm just at my house and someone's, like, beating on my door saying, I'm gonna kill you or I'm gonna kill you, oh my God. They're banging on my door, they're saying they're gonna kill me. Like, that's a very fear-provoking statement when you know, if you're in a legitimate fear that someone's gonna come through your door and kill you, if you're already on the phone.
I wasn't on the phone though. I was in the bathroom when she
You
started.
were on the phone with 911?
No, I was already off the phone with 911.
Okay, so she had already maybe made that statement before you even called.
Oh, the second time?
Anytime.
I was gonna say the second time, when I called, she had already said it,
Okay.
so.
But the second time you called was after you had fired the
Yes.
gun? Okay. So,
And maybe I misunderstood, because what my understanding was before I had to walk out of the room was that when she was knocking on your door,
It wasn't a knock.
the way,
Sorry.
I understand, you said that it got worse. Like so I'm starting off with
No,
and then
she
we're
never-
gonna get
No,
harder.
she started off banging on that door. I mean, it was, you know.
But during that initial time is when you had said before that she had made the statement that, you know, she was gonna kill you.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I just,
No, it's important that we learn the details, so that way as we gather and collect evidence, the details are what help us piece that together so we can see the big picture, right? I'll tell you that even as law enforcement officers, if we make a decision to, you know, use deadly force against someone, we have to sit and explain the same way with details. I did this because of this, making me feel like this, right? And an investigator from the state listens to us the same way we're listening to you, and they present that to a prosecutor the same way that we would, right? So we're just trying to understand the details of what happened from your point of view, so as we gather our evidence, we can.
understood.
does anyone else live with you, Susan?
No.
Okay. How long have you owned your firearm, or firearms, or any firearm really?
Trying to think, I bought the Remington maybe a year ago.
Okay. And was it just for like protection,
Yes, it
personal
was-
protection?
yeah,
Do you carry it with you
No.
if you go out, just
No.
for home?
Only if I take it to the range.
Okay. Do you do that often, or how often do you think that you've shot at the range? Or?
Probably 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
I used to be terrified of firearms. And then when the first time she threw the things at me and she was just so horrible to me, I'm like, I had just had neck surgery and I'm like, she could have really killed me, you know? And I just was like, oh dear God, she was just violent.
Allegedly, the reason Susan was so terrified of firearms was because of several traumatic experiences she went through years prior to this incident. These included robberies and her loved ones being attacked, which according to Susan in her second interview, pushed her to buy a firearm. But regardless of how she came to possess these firearms, it is first important for detectives to establish why she pulled the trigger in the first place.
My question is, how do you know what you're firing at when you're firing through a door that you can't see through, when you don't know if there's also a child outside standing there? Or, I mean, basically I'm asking you, what were you aiming at and what were you intending to do when you fired that gun?
I was just fearful of my life, and I was just like, go away, go away. That's all I could think of, was just get out of the situation, you know, just go away already. And
But when you fire through a door that's closed, was it locked?
yes, it was locked.
Okay. And, you know, you said you're in the bathroom, which I understand you said it's kind of an open floor concept in there. So it's kind of open, but I'm assuming there's walls around the bathroom, you've got a door, you can close it. And I'm not saying that, I mean, you're within your right, you're in your house, you don't have to do that. But if I'm looking at a door that's secured and whether someone's banging on it or not, law enforcement's already on the way. At what point do you, you know,
The door is broken.
the door's broken?
Like that whole side panel, people have, she's pounded on it more than once, and he fixed it, but when everything started rattling so much, I was like, oh my God, she's gonna bust through it,
Okay.
you know?
So it's broken right now, or it was broken before and then the landlord fixed it?
He didn't, cherry rigged it. He put screws through it so that the centerpiece was supposed to stay in there, but she was pounding it so hard. I mean, everything was just rattling, and I'm like, oh my God, it sounded like a horse kick. It was so loud.
One thing that I think my partner was trying to get at, and I don't know that I actually heard an answer to the question. When you're inside the house and she's on the other side of a door that you can't see through and she's pounding on the door, you make the conscious decision to aim your gun at the door and fire one round, right? Just one round?
Yes.
Fire one round. Were you trying to hit her, or were you trying to scare her off? Were you trying to make a loud noise to say like, hey, I got a gun, get away from my door? Or were you
I was never intending to hit her. I just thought, I thought I hit really high, you know, I was just like, kind of, you know, it's the first time I ever really used it, where I was, you know, like.
not on a paper target?
Exactly. I was like, oh my God. So I was shaking. I mean, I was just so distraught at that point in time. I'm like, oh my God, she's really gonna freaking come to my house. And I was just like, all I could think is go away, go away, go away, go away.
Did you mean to, were you aiming for the door?
I just fired the gun. Because all I could think of is, I felt like I was in mortal danger. I mean, it's just how I felt.
And what made you, I mean, I know someone's banging on the door, you feel like they could get in, but at that point where nobody had breached or been able to get through that secure door, what made you feel like that was the time that you needed to do that?
I usually have a chair propped up against the door at night.
Okay.
And I didn't have the chair up there, and I didn't have the chain on the door either. So just the one lock was locked. I'm like, oh shit, you know, of all the times that I never.
But before you decided to pull that trigger, you didn't think to try to put
I wasn't going near the door, because she was actually physically moving the door. You know, like you could see the door moving. I'm like, oh dear God.
So the thing is, and again, I can 100% sympathize with being fed up with that kind of harassment and that kind of disrespect. But also someone lost their life last night, right? And she has children, and as much of a pain in the butt that they can be, they're not gonna have a mother now, okay?
I understand that, and that makes me sick.
And that is, as a parent, I think is like the ultimate reason that we need complete honesty. And I think what really, your intentions were maybe not to kill her, but I think you would just reach that level that we've all gotten to, where we can really make a bad decision, where it builds up over time and you can't take it anymore. And I think that you shot at her because you were fed up and you were over it.
No.
Is that?
No.
No?
I absolutely feared for my life.
So this
was an absolute, it's either me or her. I mean, it's just like, I'm like, holy shit.
But did you see her with a gun or another weapon or anything like that?
But I don't know what she had on the outside. You know, when my lights were off, you know, so she came up, it was dark out. And I'm like, great, now she's pounding on my door. Now she's scaring the crap out of me. You know, now my door's moving and I didn't have it properly secured.
For Susan to make a valid claim of self-defense, she must have reasonably believed she was in imminent danger of death or serious harm. However, there are no indications from the crime scene to support this was so. This means there are only two options. 1. Either Susan was suffering from a cognitive distortion, for example, hypervigilance, that led her to believe Ajike was a threat even if there was none. 2. Or Susan is lying and planned this story all along in order to save herself after murdering Ajike. Considering past evidence, number 2 is likely the correct option here, which detectives realize. Now, they only need some semblance of a verbal confession because this would allow them to charge her with first-degree murder.
But when we first started talking, you said you made it very clear to the 911 call taker that she was threatening to kill you.
Yes, absolutely.
And if that's not on the recording, is there any reason why that's not on the recording?
I have no idea. I'm pretty sure I said it. So.
Are you just pretty sure she said it as well? That she was
Oh, no,
gonna do that?
absolutely, she said it.
Okay.
She was absolutely, you know.
So the way that I see it is kind of like this. You have two things that you are looking at when you're in your position. You have this fear, this imminent fear of great bodily harm, death, serious injury, right? Imminent fear. Or you have, I'm in my apartment, I'm scared as shit, and I'm trying to scare someone off. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Do you understand what the difference between those are?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand, do you have this imminent fear that you're about to die? Or do you have this, I'm afraid of what's going to happen if this person doesn't go away? Does that make sense?
No, I felt like I was in imminent danger.
Okay. How would you define imminent danger? I just want to make sure that you because that's what the actual
imminent
law...
danger, let's say someone coming at you with a nice 4-ton truck, you know, straight
Okay.
at you, and, you know, they're swerving with you when you're trying to run away.
Okay. So, someone coming at you and you're this close to danger. Okay.
Now, the first time that you called 911 tonight or last night, at what point did you disconnect from the call? You called about basically the kids were
yeah,
in your area and you didn't want them there.
Mm-hmm.
At what point did you disconnect with them?
They hung up with me. They said, someone's on the way, just keep your doors and windows locked. And I said, okay.
But Ajike wasn't there at that point?
No, she was not.
Okay. How long after you disconnected with them did she come over there, do you think?
I honestly thought it was you guys, someone banging on the door like that, because it felt, you know, like really heavy bang bang, you know, a guy doing it, and I was like, okay, you know, because it kind of shocked me, like, what the hell? And then she started screaming and angry, and then, you know, it was just weird because I just thought she is just so angry, you know, and she's just ranting and pounding, and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Well, from the information I got, she was angry and pounding because she believed that you had either struck or attempted to strike one of her kids with an umbrella and threw roller skates.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not, again, I know how kids can be. They're not always very truthful about things. But I didn't have any information provided me out there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we're still going through evidence, and you know, that's an ongoing thing. But nothing that says that she threatened to kill you or that was doing anything more than trying to get you to come to the door. That she wanted you to open the door.
Why would I open my door to this woman? When she has
I wouldn't either. I
when
get
she
it.
has thrown things at me, when
Right.
she has followed me a foot behind me, I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
I mean, she's literally come up, we had words about 2 months ago, and I walked away, I said, all right, whatever. And, you know, I said, I'm sorry, you know, just because I wanted to diffuse it, you know, de-escalate everything. I'm walking away, and she's literally walking 1 foot behind me like she was, you know, I thought, oh my God, she's going to pound me into the ground.
In the arguments that Susan has highlighted, she fails to mention that she was almost always the instigator. Spats of these conflicts between Susan and Ajike stemmed from Susan trying to kick out the children from shared property. Even neighbors testified that Susan was heard yelling racially charged comments at the children on a few occasions.
So, yeah, I mean, that's my question, though, is if she wasn't trying to come in, she's just trying to get, I'm not, and again, I wouldn't come to the door either. If you're beating on my door, wanting to cause something, I'm not answering it. But that's different than trying to bust the door down.
To me, she was
And you
trying to
said that
bust
the
the
door's
door.
already broken, so
Yes.
how hard would it have been for her, because she's kind of a big girl, right?
Mhm.
How hard would it have been for her to break that door knowing you're home? You know your door better than I do, but
Mhm.
if it's already,
Well, we did put the extra long deadbolt in and everything. I did have the deadbolt on, so I didn't know how long the door was gonna
see,
hold
and,
up.
and that's why I'm asking is
So-
because at first it's broken and now it's super secure with an extra long deadbolt.
No, I'm just
then that's
saying that we did put the, but if you look at it, everything's crumbling. I mean, if you look at the door, things are crumbling. I'm like, oh my God, you know, my landlord is 76 years old, and he jerry-rigged it. Literally jerry-rigged it. And I'm like, oh my God, so it's not, I don't feel secure. Every night I stick a chair under that door to keep, you know, because I feel like someone's gonna break it in.
When did you install the new deadbolt, or did he did that? Someone else did that?
Yeah, Charles did it.
Okay. How long ago was that?
He just, I'm trying to think when the hell he did it, a few months ago.
And what was the reason for that?
She had pounded on the door once before, and kind of everything that he had fixed previously, she had cracked apart. And I'm like, oh God. Like I said, it's not the first time.
What did she pound on the door for last time? What happened with that?
I think I called her kid an idiot or something like that. And like, you see the signs, stop coming over here. And he's like, I can do anything I want. I could just go in. And I'm like, oh my God. You know, it's just.
And what did she do that time? She beat on the door
And
and
she beat on the door and I'm like, go away.
did you call the police
I
then?
believe I called the police, and this when, you know, she heard me calling the police, then she went away.
She went away. What was she trying to get you? Was she that
I
time?
have no idea. I have no idea what this woman is thinking. I mean, to me, she's just terrifying at this point in time. You know, I just thought she is not mentally stable, and, you know, every time something happens, oh, it's my children, you know, you know, they're 100% little angels, and of course, you know, you're demonized. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
But was she trying to get in that time? Or was she just beating on the door and ranting and raving about you calling her son an idiot?
I think she was ranting and raving about me calling him an idiot.
Okay.
And I'm like, all right, whatever, you know, go away, you bother me.
Although Susan claims that she only called them idiots, this is how she would contradict this statement just days later in her second interview.
Enough, what? I did call them retards once because they just kept coming and coming. I said, are you retarded? You can't read the sign.
This kind of behavior is something that many criminals do. By downplaying the situation and detaching themselves from it, they develop a defense mechanism that not only justifies their own actions, but also gives them grounds to counter claims by detectives, like you'll see.
Did you get your gun that time?
No. And it didn't feel, she wasn't as forceful that time as, you know, this time was, you know, like, oh my God.
And do you think the reason was because she believed that you threw something at her kids?
I don't know
or...
I have no idea what she was thinking.
Okay.
I can't even speculate. You know, all I know is she's like, you know, you screamed at my kids, or you know, you said something to them, and then she's like, I'm gonna kill you. I'm like, fine.
And if your camera does work, do you you're confident that any video would back you up, or and the reason I'm asking that is because this is the time, if there's any discrepancies, to clear that up now, and I'm just trying to be
I don't even know if
forthright
it
with you
engaged.
on that. What's that?
I don't even know if it engaged, because the last time she was there at night, I tried to play and nothing came up, so.
Okay. Did you ever know her to carry a weapon or anything?
idea. But you can't tell who.
No, you never
what.
know, that's
I was
right.
gonna say,
We have kids out here running around with firearms and stuff, so, but I guess my question is, what is it that she did that made that an immediate threat to your life that you had to shoot when you did? Or you were gonna be harmed at that
I
second?
thought she was coming right through that damn door. I mean, this guy was my witness, I thought that woman was coming through
What
that
made you
door.
think that she was coming?
Because everything was shaking. I mean, my mirror that was on the wall was shaking. I'm like, how do you shake a cement block house? I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. That's why I thought,
So she was just beating, like,
Oh, she was wild with it. I mean, she was bam, bam.
what is your door made out of? Is it like a metal or like a, I'm not sure.
I have no idea. I just was like, oh, dear God, I thought I was going to get my,
How long do you think she was hitting the door?
no, I can't even speculate, because it could have been seconds, it could have been, when you get that fear response, and, she banged on it, I was in the bathroom, came out of the bathroom, and she was still banging on it, so I don't know, maybe a minute or two.
Okay. And you didn't try to call 911 back
But
at
my
that
phone
point?
wasn't there. I didn't know where I put my phone.
You don't remember where you
No.
put your phone?
And I was like, crap, I can't find my phone.
Okay. So you have an app on your phone that lets you review the video
Yes.
for your surveillance camera. Would you be willing to be able to let us look at that?
I don't have the phone.
Well, no, we have it in the
All right.
office
Okay.
over here, but
Yeah, got it.
okay.
Although this initial interview concludes here for Susan, her second interview was much, much different. In total, there would be 3 forms of reasoning and contradiction she makes while trying to twist the story to make her seem innocent. The first is the Florida Stand Your Ground law, that states that a person in his residence has the right to stand their ground, but this is only justifiable if the victim feels that there is reasonable suspicion that they will be the victim to imminent death or bodily harm. The use of this terminology can easily turn a homicide case into one of self-defense, and given enough time, Susan knew exactly how to use this law to save herself. Pay very close attention to how she talks about the incident in her second interview, days after shooting Ajike.
I'm like, why? I want to see who screams louder. I'm like, take it over to your house.
Sure. Okay. So Detective Stith has been talking to you about the timeline, okay? And some of the work we've done. Now, this is a picture that I drew. I am not an artist at all, but when I tell you some of the work we've done, we spoke to all the people over. This is your house, by the way. Okay, this is. We'll put an S for you.
Mm-hmm.
We spoke to everybody in these buildings. We spoke to them all in these buildings, and we talked to anybody that had cameras that would see different areas. These cameras, they hear things. We're able to hear audio, we're able to hear things like that. And everyone we interviewed, I pretty much got the same, Detective Stith, I think we all got the same statement from every single person we interviewed. We lined up, well, we didn't line them up. These people were interviewed in different locations. Some of them were interviewed in different buildings, in different places. I interviewed them at different houses, and all these people provided me similar statements, okay? No one that provided these, now these people could hear her talking. Okay, because she was talking loudly. You said that you could hear it through the wall, and I can agree with that. Okay, she made a statement, something to the effect of, "Why'd you take my kid's iPad?" Okay, somebody heard her say that.
I never touched an iPad. I never saw the iPad. I don't know what this iPad is
A
about.
tablet or something like that.
Again, no tablet, no iPad, no electronics at all. It was never there, or at least I never saw it.
Okay.
So I have no idea.
Was she? Maybe she's wrong, but was she asking you about a tablet or accusing you of something with a tablet or an iPad? I don't know if it's an iPad or a tablet. She could have.
She could have.
Okay. You seem unsure of some of the stuff she's saying through the door. Did she say you're not really sure if she said that?
She could have said it during her rants.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's saying these things. The thing is everything that we've learned so far, I have not learned of her ever saying to you that she wanted to get into the house. It sounded more like she wanted to talk to you outside of the house.
How do you want to talk to outside the house when you're banging and screaming?
Yeah.
That's not reasonable.
One of the people said that she said, "Come outside."
That's not, I'm sorry,
Come
that's
out.
not what?
It's not reasonable and prudent. I mean,
Oh.
you just don't, bang and expect someone to come out. Yeah, I think I'll come outside so
Right.
you can,
Well, I know. I mean,
seriously.
what I'm learning, what these people have said is that she was saying to come outside. She wanted to confront you about something. She wanted you to come outside. Do you remember her making statements and asking you to come out there and talk to her?
I honestly don't recall.
Okay, so you don't remember that, and you seem unsure about some of the statements she made about the tablet. No one that we've interviewed so far has made any statements about her saying that she wanted to kill you.
That's what I heard.
Okay. You said you were so in fear and you're shaking. Is your memory affected regarding this incident in some way?
I just remember being terrified that she was banging and screaming, and I just remember hearing her say, "I'm going to kill you."
Although it doesn't seem important at first glance, the detective clocks the kind of terminology that Susan is using: reasonable and prudent, words that are used to prove self-defense. This is why he immediately stops the line of questioning to make sure he heard her correctly. But even weirder is the fact that now, Susan claims Ajike was threatening to kill her even though she seems to forget all other details. This is a sly attempt to manipulate not only the officers, but also give her enough grounds to get away scot-free under stand your ground laws. These attempts to twist the story only worsen from here on out.
Earlier in the night, before I called the police, I don't know how old he is, but he said, "I'm going to make sure you get killed tonight."
Which son? She has two sons.
I know. I don't remember. It was one of her sons. But he was there. He's like, "I'm going to make sure you get killed. I'm going to make sure that you know." And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Has this person ever shown you a weapon or anything like that?
No. But, I mean, the little kid said it, and then all of a sudden his mom's coming over, and she's banging and screaming. And
Now, I asked you this earlier. You said you can't see out there, but you've only seen her a few times.
mm-hmm.
What means does she have to harm you through the wall?
Like I said, she was banging so much, everything was shaking and moving.
Now that house,
Which I couldn't believe because it's a cement block house.
That was my next question. So it's a cement block house, and the door, the deadbolt was activated, right?
The deadbolt was activated,
Okay.
right? And you
I
just didn't
don't-
have the chain lock?
I was going to say, I remember I didn't have the chain. I'm not quite sure if I had the deadbolt on or not.
Okay. I believe the last time we talked, you said you had the deadbolt, but you didn't want to get back close to the door to do the chain, is from what I recall. And you said you had the extra long deadbolt just installed, recently?
Charles did it.
Okay, Charles.
So that's what the deadbolt's activated, the door's closed, it's a block house. I'm just trying to understand what made you so in fear of this woman if you have these things between you.
When we had spoken previously on the other time when she screamed at me and I finally acquiesced, I said, "Whatever you want, I'm so sorry." She followed me a foot behind me up until I went into the house. I'm like, what the hell? I mean, she gave me the creeps.
What happened during that incident where she followed you? What was the conversation?
She said, "Oh, you called my kids, I can't remember, I think and or something stupid like that." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever. Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize." And I finally said, I'm going to leave this alone. I don't need, to get killed in the street. And
Did she tell you if she had recordings of you saying that?
I have no
Or like
idea.
one of the kids?
I have no idea.
But you apologized and she continued to follow you anyway?
Yeah, she followed me anyway.
How far did she follow you?
Like right up to where I go in by the wood.
By the fence
yeah.
okay. And then what happened after that?
She finally just went away.
Okay. And how long ago was that?
That was like a month or two ago.
Okay.
This is where her second unimaginable reasoning comes in for the racist remarks that the detective just mentioned.
Okay.
What's with the racial statements that everyone's saying that you made? I mean, have you ever used the N-word and they're using it against you? Have you said it in passing or something?
I have no idea. But it could have been I was speaking Hungarian instead of English.
So you're native Hungarian?
My father was Hungarian, my mother was Polish, so we spoke mainly Hungarian in the household.
Okay. And have you ever spoke Hungarian to these kids or anything like that?
Yeah, and they looked at me and they said, "Stop making up your language."
Although this claim is easy to dismantle due to the sheer number of witnesses saying otherwise, The main concern is her trying to use self-defense as a viable escape. Fortunately, because of her use of the words reasonable and prudent, detectives won't let her get away with it.
Well, we were in there going over everything, and my supervisor came in. He's actually kind of been listening a little, and something that caught my ear, like when we were talking earlier, you had mentioned the words, and I asked you to repeat it because I wanted to make sure I heard you correctly. You had mentioned terminology like reasonable and prudent in reference to how AJ was acting at your door while she was trespassing and everything. Where did that come from, that terminology? Is that
watching TV.
Watching TV? Okay. Like documentary stuff, or like what?
Probably just crime shows and stuff.
Crime shows? Okay. I have to ask you this, have you done any research on like the laws as far as like in Florida, as far as self-defense and things like that?
I looked at it today.
You looked at it today?
When I was on Facebook. Just some things that, they had it up on Facebook.
So describe that. What did you, specifically, what you were reading about and learning about?
They said self-defense, and I'm trying to think what the hell else I looked at today. So much crap. Mostly emails. But I just remember saying self-defense, and there was a bunch of lawyers and stuff like that.
So, prior to today, even the last time that you and I spoke on very early Saturday morning, you had used some of that same kind of terminology in describing the situation that occurred at your front door. Prior to today, had you ever done any kind of research like that? And before I ask, let me just say, if we were to look through everything in your phone or your home desktop computer, is there anything kind of research on your internet history that would show that you've done research on like self-defense? Or have you ever heard of the term stand your ground?
Yes.
Have you ever done any kind of research on that?
Yes, when it was mentioned on some guy shot someone at a convenience store, and they said stand your ground now, laws.
Was that like a Florida situation? Because
Yes.
I know every state
Yes.
has kind of different laws.
I think it was Florida. I'm hoping it was Florida.
Okay. And when was that?
God, years ago.
It was years ago?
Yeah, that was a years ago thing.
So nothing recent that would be on like your internet browser history?
I just looked it up today.
Right, but I mean other than, basically before this incident occurred at your door, but we're not talking like a couple years ago. We're talking about within the last few months, would there be, because your internet browser, even if you delete it or you go on private browser, if we take a look at those things, because we did go through your phone, the judge signed an order for us to be able to do that. He agreed that there was reasonable enough evidence to be able to do that. Okay. So if that were the case, if we were just to look through that, would there show anything that you were looking up, stand your ground or self-defense laws in Florida on the internet?
I don't know, I look up tons of stuff.
Is it a possibility that you looked that up?
Could have been, I don't know.
Okay.
I look up,
and the reason I ask is
I just go and see why the laws were, so I want to know why, like if they have an article, what happened in the situation, what,
Well, Susan, I think you know the reason why I'm asking that question. You're smart, okay? And the reason is...
Oh, hell no. No, absolutely. I know what you're thinking. Did I look up the laws so I could do something? No, absolutely
This is not a situation where you set something up because you were
No.
tired of this person, you were tired of the situation that they put you in?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, no.
So, Susan, we talked enough that I've come to a conclusion here, everything that I've learned, okay? And I see this on a scale here. Detective Stiff had brought up, you are Susan, are you the Susan that has done research on Stand Your Ground and has planned for this to happen, was planning for this to happen? There's a spectrum here. Is this the Susan over here? And then there's also could be a Susan over here that was, I have a gun in the house, I'm scared, someone is knocking on the door, I'd like them to go away, I'm just gonna, I picked up the gun and I accidentally shot the gun. There's a Susan somewhere in the world like that. You've somehow found a spot in the middle where you're trying to explain this, but it doesn't actually make any sense. That within 2 minutes, because we know it's 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes, this person came over and they were able to put down a series of statements, such as, and you said this, that they came right up to and they want to have a discussion with the way that you were treating their kids that day. You said that they were able to make that sentence. I want to talk to you about the kids. I'm banging on the door. I want to talk to you about the kids. They're making statements like that. We've interviewed other people that it was a very brief interaction, and then you shot them. Now, this wasn't a long siege. It wasn't a castle siege. It didn't last for 20, 30 minutes. It was 2 minutes. So you're trying to tell us that a reasonable person would shoot somebody for less than 2 minutes of making statements outside. That doesn't make any sense. So that I have to look on the scale here. Where is Susan? Did she plan this? Is she a cold-blooded killer that plans things? Was this an accident? Or was this something that got out of hand? Is it somewhere in the middle? That makes more sense. Not what Susan's telling me. Is it somewhere in the middle? Because I know that I talked to Detective Stiff. We kind of went through your first interview. And in that first interview, you had even said to the kids, you know what, go get your mom.
No, I didn't.
You said something along the lines as when they said, I'm going to go get my mom, you said, go get her.
Go get her. Which is fine. I want to talk to an adult too. I don't want to talk to a kid.
I remember saying that.
This is Susan's third contradiction, where she clearly mentions the opposite to be true in her first interview.
Like, I'm gonna tell my mom, I'm like, go tell your mom, I don't care,
As a result, you see Susan clearly begin to panic as she realizes her act is up, precisely because her attempts to manipulate detectives backfire.
So this has happened a few times during our interview also. You have these, I don't remember. There's been a couple times that you don't remember. And these are important things to remember, and you're not able to remember them. I believe that you do remember them, and that worries me. That makes me feel like you're not telling us it because you are that you are Susan, the person that is planning. I'm just trying to figure out who's sitting in front of me here. Is it over here? I've been planning this. I picked up the gun and I was waiting for her to come over because it was very quick. It was 2 minutes. Or it was, I had the gun in my hand and I made a mistake, but now I've dug my heels in and I've made these statements so far to Detective Stiff about a mistake I made, and I feel like I can't go back. I don't want to feel like you're at a point that you can't go back. We are all human. And I'm going to tell you this, 99% of the people that sit in front of me in this room, they do not tell me the truth like the entire time. But then we get to a point where I show them that everything they're saying actually doesn't make any sense. And I always tell them, I say, look, we want to go the path of least resistance. We don't want to go down the path of embarrassment or humiliation or I made a mistake. They don't want to do that, but I show them everything. And they say, you know what? And I don't hold it against them. I don't take anything personally. If you had said something before that was not true and you felt like you had to go down that path to protect yourself or whatever it is, but it's not true, this is your opportunity to tell us. And I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm not going to say Susan is a jerk or a liar or anything like that. I'm going to say what Susan's saying now makes a little bit more sense for me and Detective Stiff. And this is that opportunity. If something is different than what you originally told us, I might be able to make sense out of it because I know your history now. I know that you were a victim of some kind of trauma. I know that there was things that happened to you when you were in school. I know that you have gone through hard experiences, and maybe that influenced why you said the things you said before. But I can tell you right now, what we've learned, what we've discussed all leading up to this, it doesn't make any sense. So this is your opportunity to actually tell us that something that does make sense. I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm not going to get mad. But whenever AJ was coming over that evening, what happened? What happened? Bring me to that moment when you had the gun in your hand. What were you thinking?
All I wanted her was to go away. I just, I felt she was going to come through that door and kill me. I'm sorry, that's what I felt. I just felt she was going to come through the door and kill me.
Okay.
It was a tremendous fear.
At this point, Susan is too far into her lies to backtrack even as the detectives offer her an escape. If anything, an admission to her crimes would land her in even more trouble, which is why she sticks to her story. And despite her attempts to guarantee her innocence, her story was all over the place. There were no grounds to establish self-defense under stand your ground laws, and jurors in her trial believed there to be no imminent danger that led to Susan firing the gun. Consequently, 1 year and 2 months after her second interview, on August 17, 2024, Susan Lorincz was punished for her crimes.
Verdict as to count one. We, the jury, find as to count one of the charge. The defendant is guilty of manslaughter. Did the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt that during the commission of the offense, the defendant personally used a firearm? Yes. So say we all, dated the 16th day of August, 2024.
A manslaughter conviction means that Susan is looking at a maximum sentence of 30 years. Do you think this was just an accident, as Susan claims? Or had she planned this? Let me know down in the comments below. Susan's second interrogation would take place days later, giving her time to change and carefully craft her story. But not even the detectives were ready for what was about to go down next time. Watch our full analysis here.